1611 AD, 5505 AM. The most famous and widely read Bible in history, the Authorised King James Version 1611, was published in this year, the product of 47 approved translators organised into 6 groups spread throughout Westminster, Oxford and Cambridge universities. Once they completed their assigned parts, the materials were rearranged so other groups could critique the finished translations another group had made. Then the 6 groups met in London for 270 days to finalise the work before it was then edited by Sir Francis Bacon. Aside from the Greek Septuagint version of the Old Testament Pentateuch, the King James Bible may have been the only literary masterpiece ever written by a committee. The publication of the King James Version was instrumental in the fulfilment of biblical prophecies that declared that God's word would be known and taken throughout the earth by the descendants of the Israelites. The 270 days required for the completion of the book seemed in itself to be prophetic, each day representing a future year in world history, for the King James Version Bible was the main Bible of the English-speaking world until the publication of the Revised Version in 1881. Exactly 270 years later. Another number indicative of the timing of Israelite works and acts is 1244, found over and over in CHRONICON 1 throughout Israelite history. 1611 was precisely 1244 years after Athanasius published his list of the New Testament books of the Bible, all of which were found in the King James Version from 367 AD. Sir Francis Bacon also wrote, quote, "You shall understand that which perhaps you will scarce think credible, that about 3,000 years ago or somewhat more, the navigation of the world, especially for remote voyages, was greater than at this day," unquote. 1. The Gospel Truth. 2. The Discoverers. 3. The Lost Treasure of King Juba. 1612 AD, 5506 AM. The Japanese government saw the rising population of Japanese Christians as a threat to their traditional culture and put to death almost the entire population of Japanese Christians, about 15,000 people. 1. March of the Titans. 1613 AD, 5507 AM. The troubled times in Russia ends with the beginning of the Romanov dynasty. This dynasty was much loved by the people, the Russians being a devout Christian nation, and the dynasty would endure for 304 years, until taken down in a conspiracy by the Jewish Bolsheviks in 1917, when the Romanovs are all assassinated. The ancient Book of Jasher, Tome of the Upright, survived millennia of invasions, book burnings and transference from hand to hand, on through Alexandria in Egypt, and later Rome, on through the Christian and Islamic library destructions, to finally be printed in Venice, Italy. This archaic Hebrew chronology of the world from the days of the first humans to Moses was called the Upright Record. The Book of Jasher, unfortunately, has been confused with its forgeries, and modern academia shuns the text after 2 controversies involving Jasher texts that were forged. The true scholarly backed translation of the Book of Jasher can be obtained today at thebooktree.com. 1614 AD, 5508 AM. Historian William Bramley wrote that in this year the German Order of the Rosicrucians at Hesse announced their presence in a dramatic publication, and that the policy of the order was to be publicly active and visible for 108 years before going underground again for another 108 years. This is intriguing, for the Masonic utopian empire, the United States of America, ends in cataclysm in 2046 AD, exactly 432 years, 108 times 3, from this date. John Rolfe of Jamestown in North America married the Native American girl Pocahontas, the daughter of Chief Powhatan. She had been earlier kidnapped. 1. Gods of Eden, Bramley. 2. A Patriot's History of the United States. 1616 AD, 5510 AM. The Japanese government passed the edict allowing for the persecution of Christians in Japan. The more the Japanese tried to purge the Christian element out of their culture, the more Christians seemed to multiply. Galileo Galilei stood before the court of the Inquisition because of his belief and teachings on the Copernican theory of a heliocentric system. Unlike others accused of heresy by the Church, Galileo was a highly venerated scientist of the day, and any overt move against him would have set the people against the Church, one God's laughter. 1618 AD, 55:12 AM. The 30 Years' War begins between German Catholics and Protestants, ending in 1648. Called the Great War by the Germans, millions died as more and more European nations were drawn into the conflict against the German Catholic Habsburgs. This year was 24 years, 1008 times 3, after Israel became a nation in 1407 BC, and 2160 years, precessional cycle, after the start of the Buddhist calendar in 543 BC, early Christianity having many amazing parallels with Buddhism, as seen in CHRONICON 1. As this was a war sponsored by the papacy, this was also 1080 years after the emergence of the papal office in 538 AD. 3 comets appeared in this year, studied by Johannes Kepler, also a source of fascination to Galileo. Some sources say there appeared 8 or 9 comets. 1. Introduction to comets. 2. Gods of Eden.